The prison ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was called the Endless Night, and it belonged to the Velthari Empire. The ship was massive, almost 2 kilometers long, and painted completely black. Inside its metal walls lived the most dangerous criminals in the known universe. Park Do-hyun opened his eyes. His body hurt everywhere. The last thing he remembered was his ship breaking apart, fire and smoke filling the cockpit. Now he was lying on a cold metal floor. His hands were bound behind his back with glowing chains that burned if he moved too much. He was human, 34 years old. His black hair was messy and covered in dried blood. His face had several cuts, but his dark eyes were calm. Too calm for someone who had just been captured by the Velthari. The door opened with a hiss. 3 guards walked in. They were Velthari, tall creatures with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes glowed soft yellow in the dim light. They carried long shock sticks that crackled with electricity. "Get up, human," one of them said. "The warden wants to see you." Do-hyun stood up slowly. He did not fight or complain. He simply walked between the guards as they led him through the ship's corridors. The Endless Night was a floating prison. Do-hyun counted the doors as they walked. He noticed the cameras in the corners. He saw how the guards moved, where they looked, when they blinked. His mind was recording everything like a machine. They reached a large circular room. In the center stood a raised platform, and on that platform stood the warden. Her name was Thrall. She was tall, even for a Velthari, and her skin was darker than the others, almost purple. She wore a long black coat covered in medals and symbols. Her 4 arms were crossed, and her glowing eyes studied Do-hyun like he was an insect. "Park Do-hyun," she said. Her voice was cold and sharp. "Human, former soldier of the Earth Republic. Special Operations Division." A holographic screen appeared in the air. It showed images of burning buildings, destroyed ships, and dead Velthari soldiers. "During the border wars, you destroyed 3 of our mining colonies," Thrall continued. "You killed over 800 Velthari citizens. You are a war criminal." Do-hyun said nothing. He just stood there, looking at the warden with those calm, dark eyes. "Your sentence is eternal containment in the pit of Karath," Thrall announced. "The deepest level of this ship. No one has ever escaped from there. No one ever will." One of the guards laughed. "The pit breaks everyone. Human. You will beg for death within a month." Thrall walked closer to Do-hyun. She was much taller than him, and she looked down at his face with something like curiosity. 17 species have tried to escape from the pit," she said softly. "All of them failed. The walls are quantum locked. The air is monitored particle by particle. Every movement, every breath, every heartbeat is recorded and analyzed. Escape is not difficult. Escape is impossible." She waited for him to react. She expected fear, maybe anger, or perhaps despair. Prisoners always reacted. They screamed or cried or begged. That was normal, but Do-hyun did something she did not expect. He smiled. It was not a nervous smile. It was not a crazy smile. It was a real, genuine smile, like a child who had just received a gift. "Then this will be fun," he said. The room went silent. The guards looked at each other. Even Thrall seemed surprised for a moment. Then her eyes narrowed. "Take him to the pit," she ordered. "Maximum security protocols?" The guards grabbed Do-hyun and dragged him toward the elevator. As they walked, they passed other cells. Behind thick glass walls, Do-hyun could see prisoners of many species. Some were huge, covered in scales or fur. Others were small and looked almost human. All of them looked broken. One prisoner caught his attention. A massive creature with gray skin and arms like tree trunks. It sat in its cell, watching Do-hyun with intelligent eyes. On its chest was a number, 447. The elevator went down for a long time. Do-hyun felt the pressure change as they descended into the deepest part of the ship. Finally, the doors opened. The pit of K.A.R. Wrath. It was a huge underground chamber, almost like a small city. Metal walkways connected different cell blocks. Guards patrolled everywhere, their shock sticks ready. The ceiling was covered with weapons that could kill anyone in seconds. The air smelled like metal and fear. A guard pushed Do-hyun forward. "Welcome to your new home, human. You will die here." Do-hyun looked around slowly. He saw the guard positions. He noticed the patterns of their movements. He observed the other prisoners, some watching him, others avoiding his eyes. He saw the ventilation shafts in the ceiling, the power conduits along the walls, the maintenance hatches that no one else seemed to notice. His smile had faded, but something else had taken its place. Focus, purpose. The guards threw him into a small cell. The door closed behind him with a heavy clang. Through the small window, he could see other prisoners in nearby cells. One was the big gray creature he had seen earlier. It was watching him. Another was a human woman with short black hair. She looked at him once, then looked away. Do-hyun sat down on the thin mattress. He closed his eyes, but he was not sleeping. He was thinking, planning, calculating. They said escape was impossible. He was going to prove them wrong. Days passed in the pit, then weeks. Do-hyun learned the rhythm of the prison quickly. Every morning, a loud bell rang at exactly 6 o'clock. The cell doors opened and prisoners walked to the eating hall. They had 30 minutes to eat gray paste that tasted like nothing. Then they went to the work area, where they cleaned, sorted materials, or did whatever the guards told them to do. At noon, another bell. 30 minutes of rest. Then more work until evening. At 8 o'clock, the cell doors closed. Lights went out at 9. It was the same every day. The same bells. The same food. The same work. The Valkyrie wanted prisoners to lose hope. They wanted them to forget who they were. But Do-hyun did not forget. He watched. He listened. He learned. The big gray creature was named Bruck. He was a Gorvian, a species known for their strength and loyalty. Bruck had killed 6 Valkyrie admirals with his bare hands during a war that happened 20 years ago. He never spoke to anyone. He just sat alone, watching everything with his small dark eyes. The human woman was named Yuna. She was 30 years old, thin and tired-looking. Before prison, she was an engineer. She had worked on ships just like the Endless Night. The Valkyrie caught her smuggling weapons to human resistance fighters. There was also Sketh. He was a Morvani, a reptilian species with green scales and yellow eyes. Sketh was an assassin. He had not spoken a single word in 3 years. Something inside him was broken, the other prisoners said. He just sat in his cell, staring at nothing. These 3. Do-hyun decided they would be useful. On the 14th day, Do-hyun sat next to Bruck during the eating time. The Gorvian looked at him, but said nothing. "You watch everything," Do-hyun said quietly. "You count the guards. You notice when they change shifts. Why?" Bruck was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice deep like distant thunder. "Old habit. Soldier habit. You were planning to escape?" Bruck laughed. It was a sad sound. "I planned for 10 years. Then I stopped. There is no way out." The warden made sure of that. Do-hyun ate a spoonful of gray paste. "What if I told you I found a way?" The Gorvian's eyes narrowed. "Then I would say you are stupid or crazy. Maybe both. Maybe," Do-hyun agreed. "But I need your help. And I need you to trust me." Bruck stared at him for a long time. Then he shook his head and went back to eating. Do-hyun did not push. Trust took time. He had learned that during his years as a soldier, you could not force people to believe in you. You had to show them. That night, 3 prisoners tried to kill Bruck. They were Valkyrie criminals, part of a gang that controlled the Western cell block. Bruck had refused to join them years ago. Now they wanted revenge. They attacked in the dark, just after lights out. 3 against 1. They had makeshift knives made from sharpened metal. But Do-yoon was ready. He had noticed them watching Bruck during dinner. He had seen them whispering. He had followed the one with the scar on his face and seen him hiding the knives. When the attackers moved toward Bruck's cell, Do-yoon moved faster. He grabbed the first one from behind and choked him unconscious in 3 seconds. The second one turned, knife raised, but Do-yoon kicked his knee sideways. There was a cracking sound. The attacker fell screaming. The third one, the one with the scar, ran. Bruck stood in his cell doorway, watching. The Gorvian's eyes were wide with surprise. "You saved me," he said. "Why?" Do-yoon wiped blood from his hands. "Because I need you. And because they were going to kill you. You could have just let them. One less problem for your escape plan." Don shook his head. "I do not leave people behind. Ever." The guards came running. They found the 2 unconscious attackers and took them away. No one said anything about Do-yoon. In prison, silence was survival. The next morning, Bruck sat next to Do-yoon at breakfast. "Tell me your plan," the Gorvian said. Do-yoon smiled. One down. Getting Yuna's trust was different. She did not trust anyone. She had been betrayed before, sold out by someone she loved. That kind of wound did not heal easily, but Do-yoon needed her. She knew this ship better than anyone. He started by asking her questions. Not about escape, just about engines and systems and how things worked. He seemed genuinely curious. He listened when she talked. Slowly, Yuna began to open up. She told him about the ship's design, the ventilation system that ran through every level, the power grid that controlled the quantum locks, the maintenance tunnels that the guards rarely checked. "Why are you asking all this?" she asked one day. "Because knowledge is power," Do-yoon said. "And because I am going to get us out of here." Yuna laughed bitterly. "Escape is impossible. The warden told you that herself. The warden is wrong. She has never been wrong. Not once in 15 years. Do-yoon leaned closer. His eyes were intense. "Then I will be the first to prove her wrong. Help me, Yuna. Help me, and I will take you home." She stared at him. Part of her wanted to laugh. Part of her wanted to cry. But another part, a small part buried deep inside, wanted to hope. "What do you need?" She whispered. 2 down. Sketh was the hardest. The Morvani assassin had not spoken in 3 years. His mind was somewhere else, lost in memories or pain. Do-yoon noticed that Sketh's translation implant was broken. The small device in his neck that allowed him to understand other languages had been damaged. For 3 years, Sketh had been unable to communicate with anyone. It took Do-yoon 2 weeks to gather the parts. A tiny circuit from a broken cleaning machine. A power cell stolen from a guard's equipment. Wire from the work area. One night, he entered Sketh's cell. The assassin moved like lightning. His clawed hand wrapped around Do-yoon's throat. Do-yoon did not fight. He just held up the tiny device he had made. "I can fix you," he said slowly, pointing at Sketh's neck. "Fix you." Sketh's yellow eyes studied the device. Then, slowly, he released Do-yoon's throat. 20 minutes later, the translation implant was working again. Sketh's first words in 3 years were soft. Almost a whisper. "I owe you a death." Do-yoon smiled. "I have a list." 3 down. Now the real planning could begin. 30 cycles had passed as Theon arrived in the pit. A cycle was 1 full day on the prison ship. 30 cycles of watching, planning, and building trust. Now it was time to share the plan. They met in the work area during the afternoon shift. The four of them gathered near a broken machine that made enough noise to hide their voices. Bruck watched the guards. Sketh watched everything else. Yuna and Do-Hyun talked. "The quantum locks are impossible to break," Yuna said quietly. "Even with tools. Even with explosives. The warden designed them herself." "I know," Do-Hyun said. "So we do not break them. Then how do we get out?" Do-Hyun picked up a small piece of metal and drew a simple map on the dusty floor. "The pit. The upper levels. The warden's command center. The quantum locks are controlled from one place," he said. "The warden's terminal. If we can access that terminal, we can open every door on this ship." Bruck shook his head. "The command center is the most protected place on the ship. 20 guards at all times. Security systems everywhere. It would be suicide. Not if everyone is too busy to stop us." Yuna frowned. "What do you mean?" Do-Hyun reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small container filled with different colored powders and liquids. Hair, skin cells, saliva, blood. "I have been collecting samples," he explained, "from every species in the pit for 30 cycles." Sketh's yellow eyes widened slightly. The assassin understood first. "The defense system," Sketh hissed. "It tracks genetic signatures." Do nodded. "The ship's security is designed to detect specific species in specific places. Prisoners stay in the pit. Guards stay in the upper levels. If a prisoner's genetic signature appears somewhere it should not be, the alarms go off." "So what happens?" Yuna said slowly. "If genetic signatures appear everywhere at once, the system crashes. Or it tries to respond to hundreds of false alarms at the same time. Either way, chaos." Bruck's small eyes grew bright. For the first time in years, he looked excited. "The guards will not know what is real and what is false. They will be running everywhere." "Exactly. And while they are running, we move." Yuna was already thinking about the technical details. "The ventilation system. It runs through the whole ship. If we release the genetic material through the air ducts, every corridor, every room, every level." Do-Hyun smiled. "All at once." The plan was simple in concept, but difficult in execution. They needed to do 3 things. First, get the genetic samples into the ventilation system. That meant accessing the main air control unit on the lower level of the pit. Sketh would handle that. He was small enough and quiet enough to move without being seen. Second, disable the backup security protocols. The ship had emergency systems that could override the chaos. Those systems were located in the engineering section. Bruck would lead a group of other prisoners there. He had already been talking to inmates who wanted to fight. Third, and most dangerous, someone had to reach the warden's command center. They had to access her terminal and unlock the pit before the guards recovered. "I will do it," Do-Hyun said. "How?" Yuna asked. "You cannot just walk up there." "No, but I can be taken there," he explained. If he caused enough trouble, the warden would want to see him personally. She was curious about him. He had seen it in her eyes that first day. She wanted to understand why he was not afraid. "You are going to get yourself killed," Bruck said. "Maybe, but if I succeed, everyone in this pit goes free." There was silence. Then Sketh spoke, his voice cold and certain. "What do you need me to do?" They spent the next 10 cycles preparing. Sketh practiced his route through the ventilation shafts. The paths were tight and dangerous, full of spinning fan blades and security sensors. But the Morvani assassin was patient. He mapped every centimeter, every safe spot, every blind corner. Bruck gathered all eyes. Not everyone in the pit was broken. Some still had fire in their hearts. A Gorvian warrior named Krell, 2 human brothers from the outer colonies, a female Morvani scientist, who had been imprisoned for speaking against the Empire. 12 prisoners in total, ready to fight when the time came. Yuna worked on the technical side. She explained the ship's systems to Do-hyun until he could operate them with his eyes closed. She told him exactly which buttons to press, which codes to enter, which sequence to follow. "The unlock command is voice-activated," she said one night. "It will only respond to the warden's voice. Then I will make her say it." "How?" Do-hyun's eyes were hard. "By giving her no choice." The night before the escape, Do-hyun lay in his cell, staring at the ceiling. He thought about Earth, blue skies, green forests, the sound of rain on a window. He had not been home in 12 years. After the war ended, there was nothing left for him there. His family was gone. His friends were dead. He'd become a wanderer, moving from planet to planet, looking for purpose. Now he had one. He thought about the people counting on him. Brook, the warrior who had given up hope until Do-hyun showed him another way. Sketh, the broken assassin who had found his voice again. Yuna, the engineer who wanted nothing more than to see her daughter one more time. He could not fail them. That morning came. The bell rang. Prisoners moved to the eating hall. Do-hyun sat next to Brook. Across the room, Sketh ate alone, but his eyes met Do-hyun's for a moment. A small nod. He was ready. Yuna sat at another table, pretending to read something on a datapad, but her hands were shaking slightly. She was scared. They all were. Do-hyun took a deep breath. "It starts now," he whispered to Brook. The Gorvian cracked his massive knuckles. "Good. I have been waiting to break something." Do-hyun stood up from the table. He walked toward the center of the eating hall, where all the prisoners could see him. Then he picked up his food tray and threw it directly at a guard's face. The chaos began. The food tray hit the guard directly in the face. Gray paste exploded everywhere. The guard stumbled backward, shocked and angry. Before anyone could react, Do-hyun grabbed a metal chair and swung it at another guard. The impact made a loud cracking sound. The guard fell to the floor. Prisoners started screaming. Some ran away. Others watched with wide eyes. This was unheard of. No one attacked the guards. Not in the pit. Not ever. Brook played his part perfectly. He jumped up and grabbed Do-hyun from behind, pretending to try to stop him. "What are you doing?" Brook shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. "Are you crazy?" Do-hyun struggled against him, but it was all an act. While they fought, he whispered to Brook, "Get to engineering. Wait for the signal." Brook threw Do-hyun to the ground, making it look real. Then he disappeared into the crowd of panicking prisoners. More guards rushed in. 5 of them surrounded Do-hyun, their shock sticks crackling with electricity. "Do not move, human," one shouted. Do-hyun did not listen. He kicked one guard in the knee and punched another in the throat. He moved fast, faster than they expected. 2 more guards went down before the others finally hit him with their shock sticks. Pain exploded through his body. His muscles locked. He fell to the floor, shaking and gasping. But he was smiling. The guards dragged him out of the eating hall. Prisoners watched in silence. Many of them had never seen anyone fight back before. Something changed in their eyes. A tiny spark. Hope. They took him to a holding cell on the upper level. 2 guards stood outside. Inside, Do-hyun sat on the cold floor, waiting. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, the door opened. A Velthary officer stood there, 4 arms crossed. Yellow eyes cold. "The warden wants to see you," he said. Perfect. They led him through long corridors, past security checkpoints, through heavy doors that scanned everyone who passed. Do-hyun memorized the route. Left, left, right, elevator up 3 floors, right again. Through a circular door. The warden's command center. It was a large room, filled with holographic screens and blinking lights. Dozens of displays showed every part of the ship. Guards moved behind control stations. In the center of it all stood Warden Thrall. She looked at Do-Yoon with those glowing purple eyes. Her face showed nothing, but he could see her curiosity. "Leave us," she ordered the guards. "But Warden," I said, "leave." The guards hesitated, then obeyed. The door closed behind them. Do-Yoon was alone with Thrall. "You attacked my guards," she said, walking slowly around him. "You injured 4 of them. You caused a panic in the pit. Why?" Do-Yoon said nothing. "You could have killed them," Thrall continued. "You are trained for that. I have read your file. 12 confirmed kills during the border wars. Probably more. But today, you only hurt them. You wanted to be captured." She stopped in front of him. "Why?" Do-Yoon looked at the control panels around the room. He saw the main terminal. He saw the environmental controls. He saw exactly what Yuna had described. "Because getting here was the plan," he said. Then he moved. Thrall was fast. She reached for her weapon, a plasma blade that appeared from her sleeve. But Do-Yoon was not attacking her. He was running toward the environmental control panel. His fingers danced across the interface. Codes that Yuna had taught him. Sequences she had made him repeat 100 times. The system recognized his inputs. Across the ship, the ventilation system came alive. Fans spun faster. Air moved through every duct, every shaft, every corridor. And with that air came the genetic samples that Sketh had released 3 minutes ago. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. Every screen in the command center showed warnings. Genetic. Signature detected. Deck 7 genetic signature detected. Engineering. Genetic signature detected. Armory genetic signature detected. Deck. 12 hundreds of alerts. Thousands. The system could not process them all. It started to overload. "What have you done?" Thrall snarled. She swung her plasma blade at Do-Yoon. He ducked, barely avoiding the glowing weapon. It burned the air where his head had been a moment before. "I made things interesting," he said. They fought. Thrall was stronger, faster, and better armed. But Do-Yoon had one advantage. He did not need to win. He just needed to survive long enough. In the pit, the quantum locks flickered. Once. Twice. Then they failed. Cell doors slid open. Prisoners stepped out, confused and scared. Then they realized what was happening. Freedom. Yun. ran through the corridors, leading a group toward the lower decks. Behind her, prisoners followed, their eyes wild with hope. In engineering, Bruck and his team attacked. The Gorvian warrior crashed through the door like a living weapon. Guards tried to stop him, but he was too strong, too angry, too determined. "For freedom!" he roared, throwing a guard across the room. Krell and the others secured the backup systems. They destroyed the emergency controls that could restore the locks. Sparks flew. Machines died. Back in the command center, Do-Yoon was losing. Thrall had cut his arm, his shoulder, his leg. He was bleeding badly, but he kept fighting. "You cannot win," she said, advancing on him. "Even if your friends escape, where will they go? This ship is in deep space. There is nowhere to run." "I know," Do-Yoon gasped. "That is why we are taking a shuttle." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. A transmitter. He pressed the button. In the shuttle bay, a door exploded inward. Sketh stood in the opening, his scales covered in blood that was not his own. Behind him, the emergency shuttle waited. "It is ready," Sketh said into his communicator. Do-Yoon heard the message through the small receiver in his ear. He smiled. "Thank you for everything, Warden," he said. "It has been fun." He threw himself backward, through a window, onto a maintenance walkway below. Glass shattered around him. Pain screamed through his body. But he was alive. Thrall screamed with rage. She ran to the window and looked down. But Dohyun was already gone, disappearing into the chaos below. "Find him!" she shouted into her communicator. "Find all of them." But her guards were busy. Prisoners were everywhere, fighting, running, screaming. The ship was in complete chaos. Just as Dohyun had planned. The endless night was burning. Fires had broken out on 6 different decks. Emergency systems were failing one by one. Prisoners fought guards in every corridor. Alarms screamed endlessly, but no one was listening anymore. Dohyun ran through the chaos. His wounds were bleeding badly. His left leg barely worked. Every step sent pain shooting through his body. But he did not stop. He could not stop. The shuttle bay was 3 levels down and half a kilometer away. Yuna's voice crackled in his ear through the small communicator. "Dohyun, where are you?" "We are almost ready." "Coming," he gasped. 2 minutes. He turned a corner and ran directly into 4 Valkyrie guards. They raised their weapons. Dohyun did not slow down. He grabbed the first guard's arm and twisted it until the weapon dropped. He used the guard as a shield against the other's fire. Plasma bolts burned into the guard's back. Dohyun pushed the body forward and rolled under the next. Attack. 1 guard. 2. 3. The 4th one aimed directly at Dohyun's head. There was no time to dodge. A massive gray hand appeared from behind the guard and grabbed his skull. Bruck squeezed. The guard fell. "You are late," Bruck said. Dohyun almost laughed. "I was busy. Can you walk?" "I can run." They moved together through the ship. Around them, prisoners were overwhelming the remaining guards. Years of anger and hate had finally broken free. The Valkyrie were learning what happened when you caged too many dangerous creatures together. They reached the shuttle bay. Skath was waiting at the door, his claws wet with blue Valkyrie blood. "Inside," the assassin said. "Quick." The shuttle was small, room for maybe 8 people, but only 4 of them needed to leave. Yuna was already at the controls. Her fingers moved fast, powering up the engines, checking systems, preparing for launch. "We have 30 seconds before they lock down the bay," she said. "Everyone get in." Bruck pushed Dohyun inside. Skath followed, then sealed the door behind them. "What about the others?" Dohyun asked. "The prisoners?" "They are fighting their own battle now," Bruck said. "We gave them a chance. That is all we could do." The shuttle's engines roared to life. Yuna's hands flew across the controls. Then the shuttle bay door opened, and Warden Thrall walked through. She was covered in burns and cuts. Her black coat was torn, but her eyes blazed with fury. In her hands, she held a massive plasma cannon, powered up and ready to fire. "You are not leaving," she said, her voice echoing across the bay. "I will destroy this shuttle and everyone in it before I let you escape." Dohyun looked at her through the shuttle's window. Even now, even at the end, she would not give up. "Launch the shuttle," he said to Yuna. "She will shoot us down." "No, she will not." Dohyun opened the shuttle door. "Because I am going to give her a choice." He stepped out of the shuttle. Alone, unarmed, he walked toward the warden. "Get back in the shuttle, human," Thrall said. "Or do you want to die here?" "Neither." Dohyun stopped 10 meters away from her. "I want to talk." "There is nothing to talk about." "You are my prisoner. You will always be my prisoner. And you are the warden of a dying ship." Dohyun pointed at the ceiling, where smoke was pouring through the ventilation. "How many fires now? 10? 20? How many prisoners have escaped the pit?" "Hundreds. The endless night is finished, Thrall. Even if you kill me, even if you kill all of us, your ship is done." Thrall's grip on the plasma cannon tightened. But she did not fire. "What are you offering?" she asked. "Let us go. Right now. In return, I give you the override code to restore emergency systems. You can seal the decks, control the fires, save what is left of your crew. He paused. Or you can shoot me and watch your ship tear itself apart around you. You are bluffing. Maybe, maybe not. The question is, are you willing to take that risk? Silence filled the shuttle bay. Seconds passed. They felt like hours. Then Thrall lowered her weapon. The code, she said through gritted teeth. Do-Hyun told her. A sequence of numbers that Yuna had found hidden in the ship's old programming. A back door left by the original builders. Thrall entered it into her communicator. Across the ship, emergency protocols activated. Fires began to die. Doors sealed. The endless night stopped dying. Go, Thrall said. Her voice was cold with hate. But know this, human. I will find you. No matter where you run, no matter where you hide, I will hunt you across every galaxy until I see you in chains again. Do-Hyun walked backward toward the shuttle. He climbed inside. The door closed behind him. Yuna, he said, get us out of here. The shuttle shot forward, through the bay doors, into the emptiness of space. Behind them, the endless night grew smaller and smaller until it was just another dot of light among millions inside the shuttle. There was silence. Then Bruck laughed. A deep, rumbling sound that filled the small cabin. We did it, the Gorvian said. We actually did it. Yuna was crying, silent tears running down her face. But she was smiling too. Sketh sat in the corner, sharpening one of his claws. But even he looked satisfied. Do-Hyun leaned back in his seat. His body hurt everywhere. He needed medical attention badly. But right now, none of that mattered. Where do we go? Yuna asked, wiping her eyes. We are wanted by the Velthari Empire now. There is nowhere safe for us. Do-Hyun looked out the window at the stars. Millions of them. Billions. Each one a sun, possibly with planets. Possibly with people who needed help. We go somewhere fun, he said. And where is that? He thought about it. They had no home, no allies, no resources. The most powerful empire in known space wanted them dead or captured. But they had each other. 4 people who should have died in prison but did not. 4 people who proved that impossible was just a word. Anywhere, Do-Hyun said finally. Everywhere. The universe is big, and we have time. Let us find out what else they say is impossible. Bruck grinned. Sketh nodded. Yuna plotted a course toward the nearest free zone. The shuttle flew deeper into space, carrying its passengers toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the endless night faded into darkness. Somewhere on that ship, Warden Thrall stood alone in her ruined command center. She watched the shuttle's signal disappear from her sensors, her hands clenched into fists. This is not over, she whispered to the darkness. This is just the beginning. But millions of kilometers away, Park Do-Hyun was not worried about the future. He was too busy enjoying the present. For the first time in 30 cycles, he closed his eyes and slept peacefully. They said escape was impossible. They were wrong.